So I don't know about you, but one of the things that I have noted is that whenever there's a conversation, right, around different types of marriages, and there's an encouragement that people should look into different types of marriages before they get married so that they know which one is going to be suitable for them, there's often a group of people who are against such a discourse. Why? They often say that, when these types of conversations are had, it's just a matter of perpetuating this thing that this marriage is not going to last, and therefore, as a spouse, you should always have your back, right? Because they don't see how the other marriages, for example, marriages out of community of property, can be beneficial to people who are married. So, this is exactly why we're having this conversation today. I just want to highlight how a marriage in community of property can actually be beneficial for people who are in a marriage more than people who are wanting to get out of the marriage, right? Because I believe this kind of, idea and thinking stems from this aspect that people don't see or know these types of benefits. So today, without further ado, I just want us to have this quick discussion. All right. So before we do so, those that are new here, stay here. We have these fun conversations that are helpful to you and I and everybody else. So make sure to come back. Otherwise, my name is Yolanda Mnyengeza and I'm an attorney and a director at Mnyengeza Attorneys. Let's get to the conversation. So first things first. If the both of you enter into a marriage out of community of property, this is one of the first benefits that you guys will have. The first benefit is that if one of the spouses loses everything that they have for whatever reason, and let's say they probably have creditors coming after them, the other spouse is guaranteed that they will not lose anything that is under their name. They will not be pursued by any creditor for any type of debt that is that of the other party, right? Which means what? Which means that if your spouse loses everything that they have ever worked for, at least they can rely on you as the other spouse because at least you have some properties. Because you can imagine the kind of frustration the both of you would have if you would lose everything that you jointly own. But because now your assets are separate, Gushuguti, at least one of you is safe, this marriage can go on, at least you have a roof over your head. Because once creditors come, they sweep everything that you have in your name. So at least one of you will be safe. And then the second benefit, and it stems from the fact that you have separate assets, is the fact that your spouse, when they are running a business, they can be free and know that if they have debts that then extend to them personally, again, they will be safe, right? For instance, we've seen marriages go down and people lose everything because a spouse in their ordinary course of business, right? They just signed themselves up as surety for the business debt. And unfortunately, the business went down. And as a result, then the business owner ended up being liable. And the painful thing is that when a person is married in community or property, they are not going down alone. They're going down with everything that also belongs to the other spouse because now this is a joint thing, right? You are in community of property. So the creditor is not going to say, we want the things that are in the name of this one spouse. They are coming for everything in that household. And let me tell you, there are people who have had to go back to their families because they have lost everything because there was one business debt the business could not settle. And in turn, the business owner was pursued. And because that business owner was married, then the spouse was also pursued and they lost everything. So when it comes to such things, you will be safe if you are in a marriage out of community or property. You can be comfortable. Even if your husband, who's a business owner, now decides, okay, I'm going to take out a debt and I'm going to stand as surety, you as the spouse, you know that all of the assets acquired in your name, at least are going to be safe. You guys are not going to be wiped out, right? Let's go to the third one. Another one is the fact that when you're married out of community of property, and you lose your spouse or one of you passes away, the remaining spouse often will not have complications when it comes to administering your estate, right? What do I mean by complications? So often when people are married in community of property and the other spouse, which is something that we see frequently, did not write up something such as a will and put their affairs in order, you'd find that the whole administration becomes a complication, because now there's extramarital children, for example, that come and say they also have a right to inherit and benefit from the deceased. But you'd find that the things that now they have to benefit from are the things that you also jointly own with them. For example, a house which you also own or owned with the deceased. So what then ends up happening is that you'd find that they also have an entitlement now to the only home that you have. Because why? You were married to this person in community of property. Now what you'll see is that you find the spouse that is surviving running around trying to get some money at least to buy these extramarital children out, because it is never ideal for many people to have ownership in that one household, right? So that's one of the complications. And also, with regards to this issue of inheritance, when you both are married out of community or property, at least you know that if by virtue of the law, ngokomthetho, right, you inherit something from your family, you know that it's not going to also be in this marriage and then create even much more complications. I'll make an example of this. It happens that we lose parents, and most of our parents are not really comfortable with drafting our wills and stuff. So what then tends to happen is that uh, all of you as the children of your parent or your last parent, end up inheriting. But now, because there was no will, it will mean that even your spouse also shares in this. And you'd find that you're not the only one. Even your sibling is also probably married. And with some spouses, they tend to make demands. And when divorce comes, it tends to complicate things. But if you were married out of community or property, you would know that, okay, this house, ikhaya lakithi, it's not part of any divorce, it's not part of any marriage, no complication, no headache, right? So in that sense and in that way, it's going to be a benefit for the both of you, because also your spouse may actually get this type of inheritance as well, where they inherit something by virtue of the law, let's say from their parent. They also definitely don't want that situation where you also have a share in there, and then it complicates things. So this is one of also the benefits of being married out of community or property. Do you see that these benefits that we're talking about are benefits for the people whilst they're in the marriage, not out or when they are trying to exit? So this is just a few of the benefits. I mean, there's a list of them, right? So for those that actually looked at this from that perspective, I hope this video is going to help you, make you feel a bit comfortable and just understand what we mean when we say that look at your options and look at what you think will be best for you. Because the idea is not always looking forward to this marriage coming to an end, but rather saving and safeguarding the interests of the people inside this marriage. Well, this brings us to the end of our discussion today. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something from it. If you did, we always say pass this video on, share it, like it, come back. We'll have more discussions such as this. We'll see you next time.